Once upon a time, in the ancient city of Jerusalem, a man named Peter lived as a devoted follower of Jesus Christ. Peter was known for his loyalty and passion, often referred to as the rock upon which Jesus would build his church. However, even the strongest foundations can crack under certain circumstances. It was the week leading up to the crucifixion of Jesus. The atmosphere in Jerusalem was tense, as religious and political authorities conspired against Jesus, seeking to silence his radical teaching. Jesus, aware of the impending danger, gathered his disciples for a final meal before his arrest. During this poignant occasion known as the Last Supper, Jesus shared bread and wine with his disciples, symbolizing his body and blood. As they sat together, Jesus revealed that one among them would betray him. The disciples looked at one another in disbelief, unable to fathom such treachery. In the midst of this revelation, Peter's heart sank. Fear and uncertainty clouded his mind. He had followed Jesus for years, witnessed countless miracles, and proclaimed his unwavering loyalty. Peter could not comprehend how any of the disciples, including himself, could ever betray their beloved teacher. As the meal progressed, Jesus began to wash the feet of his disciples, demonstrating humility and servanthood. When he came to Peter, the disciple was taken aback. Uncomfortable with his master performing such a lowly task, Peter objected, exclaiming, "Lord, you shall never wash my feet." Jesus looked at Peter with deep understanding and replied, "If I do not wash you, you have no part with me." These words struck a chord within Peter, and he humbly relented, allowing Jesus to wash his feet. But in his heart, doubt and confusion lingered. Later that evening, in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus went off to pray, asking Peter and the other disciples to keep watch. But exhaustion weighed heavily on Peter, and as the night wore on, he succumbed to sleep. Jesus, returning to find his disciples sleeping, woke them gently, urging them to stay awake and pray. Suddenly, the quiet night was shattered by the arrival of a group of armed men, sent by the religious leaders to arrest Jesus. Fear gripped the disciples, and Peter instinctively reached for his sword, slashing at the high priest's servant, cutting off his ear. Jesus, however, rebuked Peter, telling him to put away his weapon, for those who live by the sword shall perish by the sword. As chaos unfolded around him, Peter's anxiety reached its peak. The disciples scattered, leaving Jesus to face his captors alone. In that moment, Peter's resolve crumbled under the weight of his fear. Desperate to distance himself from the unfolding drama, Peter denied knowing Jesus not once, but 3 times, just as Jesus had predicted. Overwhelmed by guilt and shame, Peter wept bitterly, realizing the depth of his betrayal. He had forsaken the very person he loved and pledged his life to. The weight of his actions bore heavily on his conscience, and he felt utterly broken. Days later, after Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection, he appeared to his disciples. In one of these encounters, Jesus sought out Peter specifically, restoring him with forgiveness and reaffirming his role as a leader among the disciples. Peter's betrayal serves as a powerful reminder of the frailty of humanity, the complexity of faith, and the potential for redemption. His story teaches us that even the most devoted followers can stumble and fall, but through repentance and forgiveness, they can find healing and restoration. From that point forward, Peter devoted his life to spreading the message of Jesus, sharing the love, forgiveness, and grace he himself had received.